Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Opposite the Monitor, and today we're going to get into the disastrous yet comical effects of releasing a game with terrible marketing and lies and just outright it's a scam. But you know, the day before studio, I think it's Fntastic or Fntastic, however you want to pronounce it, I guess, is closing. They're shutting down completely. And I'm assuming, this is due to, well, they specifically come out and say that it's due to we miscalculated our capabilities. Oh man, if I hadn't seen a scam before, if you have not ever seen a scam before, this is legit the blueprint of what a scam looks like. And I started out with the inclination that this is a scam off the bat. With the initial release of the trailers and everything like that, I'm like, this shit does not look like a legit video game. I feel like I'm getting the EA oh man, I can't remember the game now. I feel like I'm getting that treatment again with the misleading marketing and the trailers, and the gameplay that was shown off in the actual trailer is actually not gameplay, but we're gonna get into it. But we're talking about that today. We also got the Game Awards happened as well, so it's a lot of good stuff. So I got some good news mixed in with some terrible yet funny ass news. So we got that as well. We got an update on Suicide Squad killed the Justice League, as well as Payday studio, not the Payday studio that did GTFO. Not that one. They also made Payday, which I feel like that studio is way better at those type of games, because they're thinking that they created the original one versus the ones that make Payday now, who are still affiliated with Starbreeze. They're making a new game as well. And boy, is it going to be a doozy. But let's go ahead and jump into it, man. Just 4 days after the day before its disastrous launch, the studio has abruptly closed with miscalculated. And they quoted, "We miscalculated our capabilities." Oh man, that's a hard ass excuse, and miscalculated our capabilities. That's such a soft way of saying we fuck y'all, we scammed y'all and took all your money, and we're just running off into the horizon and the breeze. We're finna spin this. There's a lot more information behind that too, but they go on to say that just 4 days after the ugly launch of not quite a survival MMO, the day before on Steam, developer for Fntastic says it is closing its doors because the game flopped. A few hours after the studio announced its closure, sales of the day before on Steam were halted. I don't know why, and I see this in the comment section and stuff like that. A lot of my information too, so if you haven't, if you don't watch Big Fry TV, definitely check him out, because he kind of he kind of has been following this particular issue for a long, since the inception of it. You know what I'm saying? And it's just it's nice to watch. I typically try to balance out one perspective with another perspective and stuff like that. But just from what I'm seeing in this particular instance, in this particular scenario, there's so many excuses that people are making for this game, as well as, extreme optimism. You should not have this much optimism in 2023 ever. You should probably be very skeptical and cynical when it comes to just gaming in general in 2023. And it's just because I've seen things go from 0 to 100 so fast with gaming companies, and this is just another instance. This is just another scenario. But it's just man, it's so much cope going on to defend this, and there's so much optimism. People were legit still hoping that another studio would just take over and give them funding to finish the game and stuff like that. And I'm just why? No, they legit misled you in the marketing, gave you trailers of content that's not in the game, lied about what the actual game is. It's even in here, they said not quite a survival MMO. No, it's not a survival MMO at all. The shit ended up being an extraction shooter. You know, and I kind of like, I started out, I was flip-flopping a little bit with this, because before, when the first trailer first came out, I was like, this shit's a scam. I don't believe it. You know, then as, you know, stuff started trickling out a little more, I was like, maybe it's not necessarily a scam, but they're lying somewhere. And then when the game actually came out, I was like, oh no, they completely lied about they completely lied about the game, what the game is, the, you know, the marketing, everything like that. And I was like, oh, they just lied. You know, I'm not necessarily saying it's outright scam, because like they just lied about what the game was, but that doesn't mean that they can't make the game what it was intended to be. And stuff like that. Cause I mean, just, you know, changing up the extraction part of it is not that hard. I'm not gonna say it's hard, but it's not that like it's not leaps and bounds of like changing the actual fundamental core of what the game is essentially. But then, you know, we get this information. I'm so glad I waited till Monday to kind of record, because I was waiting and I was like, should I go ahead and record Sunday, or should I just record? I typically record on the weekends. So I was like, should I just wait till the day before? And I was just wait till the day before to drop my video for the day before information. It's so funny. And now I'm so glad I waited, man, because it's like I would have missed this in the video at least. But yo, so it's just, you know, it's outright completely a scam. I mean, like, you charge people $40 for some shit that for a game that isn't finished, number one, as well as saying that this game is something else when it's not, as well as this game, people will never get the game they purchase. Like, people will never get the game that you marketed to them as. This game was marketed to people as a survival MMO, and people won't get that now. So you basically just took thousands of people's money and ran off into the wind with it. And that is essentially a scam. That's what that is. There's no ifs, ands, buts about it. So they go on to say that the day before has failed financially and we lack the funds to continue. The studio said in a statement posted to Twitter, all income received is being used to pay off debts to our partners. Jesus Christ. We invested all of our efforts, resources, and man hours into the development of the day before, which was our first huge game. We really wanted to release new patches to reveal the full potential of the game, but unfortunately we don't have the funding to continue to work. I mean, weren't you guys hiring volunteers? What the hell? Y'all did a whole like dev insider thing on how you on how you essentially are pimping unsuspecting developer, just getting random people that are passionate about the game to help work on the game. They was working for free. What the hell happened to that? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you just, what was that? It was just like sitting on my high mighty horse type of thing. And it's like, hey, we got, we got a bunch of passionate, we got a passionate community of people that will just help us out for free and we ain't paying them shit. Like, see, this shit is just, it gets even worse when you see what they've done and what they've shown to you in the past, and you just accumulate all of that. Like sometimes like part of me wish like no one said anything about this game. Like part of me wish no one said anything about this game, and then you just allow people to like give themselves enough rope to hang themselves. And that's effectively what this entire scenario is. It's like you just hung yourself. You went out. Nobody told you to come out and glorify trying to get volunteers and try to, put yourself like, on this type of, morally high horse of being able to like bring on all these passionate people and like trying to reword things as if they're not scummy, schemy and snakish. You know what I'm saying? So they go on to say, and I mean, they actually put out a legit like whole message, which it's not even worth me reading into what the whole entire message is. If you want to waste your time reading this, that's perfectly fine. But I know this shit's a scam, and it makes no sense to even try to give any sympathy towards whatever type of message they're trying to convey within this particular message. But to go on though, in this article, this PC Gamer's hitting the nail on the head. The Steam rating crashed to mostly negative, and the official day before Discord was temporarily locked down as moderators struggled to keep a lid on the upset. I mean, for good reason. I mean, yeah, you deserve everything that you're getting right now, because there was no reason for you to just come out and outright lie. And look, trust me, a lot of people do things because they see someone else doing it. You know what I'm saying? It's like, they trick themselves into thinking that behavior is okay, and that behavior, and the gamers typically condone some of the most scummish and schemy behavior within the industry in and of itself. And one other thing I probably point out too is that, like, even AAA studios lie about the games that they're making. Granted, this is on like a completely different level. This is like, DEF CON level. This is worse. This is way worse. But I mean, like, just to point out an example, like Naughty Dog lied about what The Last of Us 2 was about. You know what I'm saying? It's like, they did face swaps and all this other shit, and they edited the trailer out to make it seem like it was one way when it actually wasn't that way, like a bait and switch essentially. EA's done it in their games too. So I mean, the shit is just, it's not just one company that does this, but it permeates throughout the entire industry, and then gamers as a whole just accept bullshit because they like the publisher, or they like the developer, or they like that game franchise. And I think, like, that's probably so much that probably adds and contributes to the continuity of other developers being able to just do it. And I mean, Fntastic just felt like they could just get away with it, which they kind of did. They kind of got away with it because there was a lot of people that purchased it, like over 200,000 that purchased it. And even with refunds, they kind of like still had over 100K, which I'll get into in a little bit later than this. But they go on to say that there was a presumption that patches would be forthcoming to smooth out at least some of the roughest bits. That's what I just mentioned earlier. Is not even in the Discord. They're just people under the comments. Just people under the comments under like subreddits and stuff like that, just with so much hope and optimism. I'm just like, no, bro, this game is finished, done. But that's apparently now off the table. Predictably, users on the day before Discord server are once again enthusiastically venting their frustrations, accusing Fntastic of perpetuating a scam right after the start. And this time, there's no mod team to put a stop to it. Yeah, it's like, and I wouldn't be surprised. Like, I'm pretty sure that entire Discord is going to be wiped, just like the YouTube channel and everything, which they go on to say here. In the short time since Fntastic announced the studio's closure, most of the day before official Discord server has evaporated. Every text and voice channel except the general chat room has been deleted, and the server news channel Fntastic used to keep to communicate progress on the game has been scrubbed off every message. All content on Fntastic's YouTube channel has also been deleted. They just went scorched earth. They was like, nope, we got our money, we getting out of here. Scammed, you dumb bitches. like that's just what it's like. That's just what it came to. And it's just like, yes, it's terrible. It's very much so terrible, but at the same time, it's comical because it's like they had enough balls to just be like, I'm going to do this. Like there is a opportunity here for us to just get a bunch of free money and run away with it. All we have to do is put on a facade and make something seem like it's real when it actually isn't. And you know what I'm saying? And it's just like I really hope this lights a fire in the gaming community and just in the industry in general to put more developers' feet to the fire, essentially, and be able to actually hold developers accountable and hold publishing studios accountable, go into their history, dig deep into their history, do some research on the developer, do some research on the publisher, on the games they make and stuff like that. And actually, actually wait and see how things play out. And it's like, you got to make sure that when you're purchasing stuff, or even just pre-orders, I don't condone pre-orders at all unless it's from a developer that for a fact has not dropped the ball for you. You know what I'm saying? Like I do that. Like for me, that's with Capcom. Like with Capcom, I'm always going to pre-order a Resident Evil game. no matter what it is, because Capcom has never dropped the ball with me ever. When I know Capcom is making Resident Evil, I know exactly what I'm getting. When I know they're making a Resident Evil remake, I know exactly what I'm getting. There is no ifs, ands, buts. There is no issues that in the past here and there. Maybe they went with a specific art direction that I don't necessarily agree with, but I know I'm getting a full featured product day one that works, that is exactly what they described it was going to be. And that's just kind of like how I operate when it comes to just my gaming and stuff like that. But they talk about the one of the moderators one of the moderators, Levitate, who said his goodbyes, and that entire, like, when they scrubbed the Discord, that message went along with it as well. That's kind of what they're getting into. Now here is the other portion of what I was talking about with the refunds and the amount of money that they were able to kind of garner up, and how much refunds how many people refunded the day before. So they go on to say that the state of the day before led to widespread interest in refunds. One message posted in the day before subreddit says Steam was accepting refund requests even from players who had gone beyond the standard 2-hour playtime limit. Thank you, Steam. I think like this particular policy that Steam has needs to be lifted. There needs to be no 2-hour minimum with this particular game. Since this is a clear scam, they need to make sure that, hey, we can allow anyone to refund this at any time. Sorry, Fntastic, this is just a bid that you made. Now you got to lay in it, essentially. Whether or not people played the game and enjoyed it, or whether or not people played the game and found out it was a scam, or played the game and didn't like it, you need to give everybody who purchased this game the option to refund this. Fuck that 2-hour minimum. Like, it's just, that's just basically where I'm coming from with it. Like, when you have certain scummy people like this that exist in the world, like, they don't need to be able to hide behind certain regulations and policies and things like that. And allowing people to just refund their money or refund the game and get their money back, that for like $40 is too much for something like that, that isn't even what the original product was marketed to be, and stuff like that. So they go on to say that a message being shared on Russian social media networks, including VK, and posted to Twitter by Simon Carless, purportedly from Fntastic CEO Edward, I'm not going to say his name, is Butcher, claimed a whopping 46% of the copies sold in Steam had been refunded. And here's kind of like the number breakdown that they have. It was lifetime Steam units, 201,000. 91,000 people refunded this. So, I mean, like, at the end, and they'll also go on here to say that a translated version of the message posted to Reddit says the day before sold 109,382 copies globally after refunds, but fell out of the top sellers chart on Steam almost immediately after launch. So yeah, and I would presume that this number is going to get higher. I presume that, yeah, like, I don't think there are 109,000 people that are completely dedicated to just wasting their life into this game as well as their money. So great for Steam, man. Keep allowing people to refund this. Keep allowing people to get, get their money back. Stomp out developers like this out of the Steam. There's so much garbage and shit on Steam, and just stomp out developers like this. Fortunately, there may be some great indie developers out there, but it's like, if you can't actually deliver on your promises with games, man, there needs to be consequences to your decisions. That's just the end of that. There needs to be some sort of consequence, and I'm glad Fntastic is seeing their consequence. Like, I don't know any other way to put that, but that's it for the day before, man. Let's go ahead and jump into some actually good news, though, because I was excited for the Game Awards, man. And you know what? This is probably, and granted, this may be the 10th anniversary Game Awards, and that's why this one felt just This one felt a lot better. I see a whole bunch of people just getting upset about, or developers just getting upset about, the people the people who won awards didn't get enough time to be able to, share their thanks and all that. And I'm just like, this is the Game Awards, bro. Like, you have your own day, developers. It's called Day of the Devs. You have your own day that you can just dedicate to, showing off all of the developers that work in your team that assist and help with this game and all this stuff like that. You have your own thing, man. Like, people want to just see games at the Game Awards. That's it. That's one of the reasons why the voice actor for God of War, the people just made jokes and just complained about how long his speech was. If 8 minutes is too damn long in a speech, that's the main reason why they didn't do that for the Game Awards this year, was because they don't want like controversy from people who actually actually tune into the Game Awards. Like, people don't want to see a bunch of people talking for 8 to 10 minutes of giving thanks. You don't need to give thanks to everyone in the world. I'm just, just to be, I don't want to sound like an asshole or anything, but you don't want to give thanks to just everyone. Nobody wants to hear that shit. Like, when you watch the Game Awards, people want to actually watch video games. That's what that's for. People want to watch the art that you're creating. Granted, if people want to know who works on the game, they put it in. You can find that information. You can find that information at the developer site or the publisher site, or you can actually just, you play the game. There's a whole bunch of credits that you can just click on credits and look at anybody and give people's thanks and stuff like that. Everybody, you don't need fame, bro. It's like the art will speak for itself, because one thing I do see is that I don't really see a lot of you developers getting upset about not getting thanks on a shit game that was received shitty. You know what I'm saying? Like, keep the same consistency. It's just like you just picking and choosing. And I just saw that and I was like, it's so weird, to be like complaining about every little thing. Like, this is the Game Awards, man. Like, let Jeff Keighley announce the games. Let him get through. Like, the show was like almost 4 hours. It's like a 3 hour and 30-minute like award show, which is long in and of itself. We don't need it to be an extra 30 to 40 minutes of just people just talking, giving thanks. So it's just like, yeah, man, it's kind of ridiculous. But like I want to say here, man, there was some awesome stuff that was shown off, man. Monster Hunter 6, which was called Monster Hunter Wilds. That's one of the games I'm excited for as well. I mean, Capcom does amazing with that. I'm actually curious to see how, like, if it's going to be very simple to, like, similar to Monster Hunter Worlds, but it's just a different setting. So it'll still be kind of like an MMO type of thing. But yeah, I was excited for that. They're doing a remake. Remakes in this Game Awards show was permeated throughout the entire show. I was like, man, you know what? I like remakes, man, because you wouldn't get like they're redoing Brothers: A Tale of Two Sons, which was a phenomenal co-op game. Definitely, like, I recommend people playing that game, like couch co-op. This was a really good game, I will say. But yeah, like, they're doing a remake to that. Pony Island 2 was very weird, but it's coming from the people who did Inscription, which was that card game. That was actually pretty dope. One of the other highlights that I like, and I got some more information on some of these games that I actually really, really like, stood out to me that I liked. But Light No Fire, man, I was like, when they allowed, oh man, I can't remember his name now, but when they allowed him to come on stage and present this game, I was like, Jesus, I did a face palm. I was like, please don't let him talk too long. Don't let him talk too long, because if you let him talk too long, he's gonna start lying. He's gonna start lying about what the game actually is, and we don't need that again. Like, the Halo games was able to kind of turn No Man's Sky around after the disastrous launch of No Man's Sky, and I'm just like, just don't say too much. You don't need to say too much. Just get on stage and just say. But he started rambling and talking, and I was like, don't come out here saying lies and shit again, man. Don't you do it. Don't you do it. Don't do it, because people gonna remember this. It's just like, and luckily he didn't really say too much. He rambled for a little bit, but he didn't really say too much. But I mean, the trailer that they showed off looked really good. I have to. Well, what I will say is that I probably got a little bit more faith in Light No Fire versus No Man's Sky, because Light No Fire looks like they took a lot of the mechanics from No Man's Sky and just put it on to this particular setting, as well as, like there's a lot of similarities to this. And I mean, it looks like, for real, I would actually think that Light No Fire would be a game that exists within the same universe as No Man's Sky. Like it's a planet within that universe that they've just like selected and we're going to build upon. But yeah, I'm excited for this game as well. Windblown also was a little bit. Now here's another one, No Rest for the Wicked. That actually was one that I'm excited for too, because it's made by the Ori developers, and I was like, oh yeah, I'm excited for that. Dragon Ball Sparking Zero, also very excited for that as well. It's I think a Budokai Tenkaichi type of Dragon Ball game, which that's what I thought they were going to announce, but they didn't. It was this one instead, which looks the same. It looks similar to me, just a different name. But and then we also got some information about Project OD, well, the Hideo Kojima game. I'm not really going to talk too much in depth about this because there was no information. And then Hideo Kojima always announces games and they're obscure and never what they actually are in the beginning. I saw one, people think OD means overdose, but I don't think it's that simple. It's probably going to be more complicated and mean something different. So I'm just like, I'm holding back on speaking too much about it. I don't even know if I'm excited about it or not. Other than Jordan Peele being associated with it, I mean, that's like interesting, but I don't know yet because Hideo Kojima is always a mystery. He's always, he's a wild card in the gaming industry. So I just don't really know. But I mean, he's got a game coming. And then Blade too. So, we got some more information on that. But let me know in the comments, man, like what, like I really want to know what you guys thought about the Game Awards, as well as which games are you excited for, and let me know in the comment section, like what games you are like going to play. Like I said, be cautious about those developers, but if your developer is on this list of, games that you have purchased and, recently, and it's just like they have never let you down and stuff like that, I'd be curious to figure out like what your favorites are. But, moving on though, I'm going to go through a few of the games that I kind of piqued my interest while I was watching the Game Awards though. But one of the big ones though was Exodus. And Matthew McConaughey came out and like kind of announced this game, because he's taking part in it. But Exodus is a new sci-fi RPG from former BioWare, 343, and Naughty Dog developers. And I'm like, when I first saw this, I was like, this is Mass Effect. This is Mass Effect all the way. And I'm like, this game, I hope this game comes out around the time Mass Effect, the new one that was announced from EA, comes out, because I think this would be a good competitor. Granted, I was kind of wrong with, we kind of had like a similar scenario with Dead Space from EA, as well as Callisto Protocol from some of the ex developers that worked on the original Dead Space game. And the Dead Space remake ended up being a better game. Granted, it was a remake, but the Dead Space remake ended up being a way better like game in general, because it was just the Callisto Protocol was just terrible. But we could have that type of situation happen again with these ex BioWare, 343, and Naughty Dog developers, as well as, the Mass Effect from EA could end up being better than this game. But, they have some really good, they have a really good team working on this game. And it's just like, the trailer for this game looked really good. And they also showed a little bit of gameplay as well. But they go on to say that Exodus, and I'm just going to read through this because this is very short, but they go on to say that Exodus is the first game from Archetype Entertainment, a studio established by Wizards of the Coast in 2019 and staffed by former developers from BioWare, 343 Industries, Naughty Dog, and other AAA establishments. The 343 Industries is the one that's kind of making me worried a little bit like that, because it depends on, because that development studio just stopped working on Halo. Like they just got removed off of Halo. So I'm just like, is it is it the developers from that team, or is it developers from like earlier 343? That's my thing. But Exodus is a big and bold sci-fi RPG that deals with time dilation. The idea that time passes more slowly than we're used to during high velocity travel, causing interstellar explorers to outlive their friends and family back home. In Exodus, humanity has been forced to abandon Earth and establish a new civilization in a hostile galaxy. Players are the Traveler, a person tasked with exploring far-off solar systems for advanced alien technology. So it kind of sounds like, since it's called the Traveler, there's no actual name for the person, and I saw different travelers in the trailer. It seems like you'll be able to create your own character, which sounds dope, and that's what Mass Effect was. The difference with it is Mass Effect had a one singular protagonist. Now this also sounds like Mass Effect Andromeda, which was a terrible game, but hopefully they focus more on the story and not the base management, people management side of stuff. Like, I don't care about that. This needs to be very story driven. And that's kind of, from what this trailer shows, it kind of like shows that that's what they're going to focus on. But they go on to say, what the Traveler counts in days, the rest of humanity experiences in decades. With this conceit, players' choices will cause butterfly effects to ripple across humanity's new planet, particularly in the lives of their own loved ones, and the Traveler will watch these play out over generations. Like, this sounds like a massive game, but Exodus was one of the games that I was the most excited for. Like, when I saw this, I was like, this is the best showing here, in my opinion. In my opinion, Exodus was the best game that they showed at the Game Awards. They go on to say that player choice is a big part of Exodus, affecting individual combat moments and helping to shape the overall story arc. The game includes alien weaponry and classic gunplay, a deep progression system, and a swath of companion characters. Yes, romance is on the table, so they acknowledge that romance will be there. Also, Matthew McConaughey is in Exodus in some way, and he presented the game at the Game Awards, unveiling its first trailer. Yeah, man, like, Archetype was created by Wizards of the Coast as well. So, I mean, like, I'm funded by them, I'm assuming. But they go on to say that the people, some of the head people that are working there, so one of the like high executive people that are work there. So James Olin, he worked on Baldur's Gate and Dragon Age Origins. You got Chad Robertson there, who works on Star Wars: The Old Republic. You also have Chris King, who worked on Halo 4. Halo 4 wasn't one of my favorites. And you have the narrative director, Drew Carpentier, who worked on Mass Effect and Mass Effect 2. So you're going to probably get like some very good storytelling, because Mass Effect 1 and 2 had the best storytelling out of that entire trilogy. As well as, you're going to they probably got James Olin in there, who's a studio head for the RPG element. So you got the, Baldur's Gate and Dragon Age Origins. Like, a lot of these games are very much so prominent, games that were part of my childhood, at least. And they were awesome games. So I'm just like, if they can kind of find a way to translate those RPG elements, that great storytelling, I'm pretty sure the director, Chris King, he's probably going to be hitting a lot of what the combat is. So I mean, like, the combat, as long as it's somewhat satisfying, I'm okay with it. It doesn't, it can't, like, for me personally, I like the weapons that were in Mass Effect 1. They were a lot more laser focused versus like Mass Effect 2 and Mass Effect 3 had a lot of projectile focused weaponry. If it's more like laser focused and stuff like that, I actually like that a little bit more, but I'm okay with the projectiles. But for me, what's going to shine for this is going to be because I like the concepts of the story as well as the RPG elements. Like, that's what's going to shine for me. I want to be able to I want to be able to do investigations, speak to people, side quests, build out my skill tree and stuff like that. Combat for me, when it comes to games like this, is probably on the back burner. Because I would rather be engulfed in the story a lot more than just combat in and of itself. But yeah, Exodus was my favorite game that was shown at the Game Awards this year. But moving on though. So here's some more information about No Man's Sky Studio, or the Light No Fire game from Hello Games. But they go on to say that No Man's Sky Studio unveils procedural fantasy planet and adventure Light No Fire. And I kind of got some more information, that I want to share with you guys, because I mean, like, this was also a very standout game for me as well as Grand Theft Auto 6 got announced, but I mean, everybody knows that information. But they go on to say that specifics are limited at present, but Hello described Light No Fire as a game about adventure, building, survival, and exploration together, set on an ancient fantasy planet the size of Earth that brings the depth of a role-playing game to the freedom of survival sandbox. And from what he kind of was trying to convey and describe, he kind of made it seem like they were going to build like a one-to-one type of Earth, essentially. That's procedurally generated, which I feel like is a lot more doable than, creating an entire universe. My thing is that I hope they don't depend on procedural generation as much as they did in the first game. Cause I mean, you have to, cause you're building out an entire universe, but I feel like it will be a lot more satisfying if you just take your time working on that large scale game and making things a lot more tailored to the style of and adding uniqueness to the game by handcrafting it versus procedural generation, in my opinion, because I just think that I would rather you take a long time to build that game, because people are already playing No Man's Sky. And they announced another update to No Man's Sky as well. So it's like, I'd rather you're going to use procedural generation. That's just something he announced, but I'd rather it not be so heavily dependent upon, and be able to kind of craft uniqueness in the game. And I mean, it's, that would probably be a lot more. If they did that, I think Light No Fire would definitely outlive No Man's Sky, in my opinion. But they go on to say that the planet itself is procedurally generated, offering a truly open world with no boundaries at a scale never attempted before, consisting of immersive biomes, unique enemies, and valuable resources to discover. It's all inspired by classic fantasy, lore, mystery, and a constant fight for survival are promised, and it'll see players teaming up to carve a life together, exploring and surviving, constructing persistent buildings, communities, and more. So it sounds like they're going to take a lot of the building mechanics that they had in No Man's Sky, implement that into here. This seems more so like, it's more fantasy based, so it's not futuristic, which is, nice. I kind of thought it would have been interesting if they would have mixed a little bit in, to the two, like almost like Ark a little bit, where you kind of like, you start off with the basics in one biome, and for me personally too, it'd also be pretty dope if they just like made specific biomes a lot more difficult to survive in versus other biomes, which then would have to make you invest more into the crafting and the building and the leveling up to be able to get better weapons and stuff. So I'm hoping I thought that would be a pretty way, like a dope way to kind of like move forward with that, is to kind of mix a little bit of futuristic in with fantasy. But I think they're going all in on fantasy with this game though, in particular. But I mean, like, yeah, this was just one of the games that I was excited for, man. I was just like, yeah, like Light No Fire looks really good. So I mean, like, if survival, exploration, building and stuff is kind of like your thing, I think this would probably be a good game to like keep an eye out for, especially given the fact of the track record Hello Games has. Yes, they lied about how their game was at the beginning as well, but over time they've showed you like, we can stick it out even under pressure. We can stick it out even under discourse and being uncomfortable and stuff like that, with like people not liking our game and stuff like that. And we can win people back over. And I think just the whole, like, that is probably the most iconic redemption arc in gaming history ever when it comes to a game. I think Light No Fire is actually going to be really, really good, because I feel like they've learned a lesson, number one, from the way No Man's Sky launched. And I think that they'll probably have a lot easier development cycle with Light No Fire because of the foundation that they've built for No Man's Sky. I see a lot of that foundation from No Man's Sky implemented into Light No Fire. And so I think that this game is actually going to end up being a lot better, especially given the fact of they're not completely making an entire universe. So it's very much so ambitious, but it's on a smaller scale. And I think the procedural generation is something that you may not notice as much because it's only one singular planet versus you going to multiple different, like hundreds of millions of planets, you know, and you can tell the similarities between different ones across the universe. So, I mean, I think this game is going to shape up actually being pretty good though, but moving on though. Deathloop developer Arkane Lyon is making Marvel Blade game. This was also one that I was like, okay, yeah, I'm down for it. Like, there's a lot of Marvel games being made, man. So I'm like, I'm actually down for it. But they go on to say, and I just had like a small piece of information because we don't damn really have too much about it, but it was just exciting for me to see. In a press release, Arkane Lyon said its game will be set in a quarantine section of Paris in the middle of a supernatural emergency, which the emergency of vampires. So, you know, this will be accompanying the Captain America and Black Panther game, as well as the Iron Man game and the other Black Panther game from EA. So, I mean, like, yeah, Marvel's definitely trying to jump into the gaming world, especially given the fact that their movies are shit right now, especially the development. I mean, luckily, they've kind of got the development cycle, or not the development cycle, but the actual production cycle of, you know, the Blade movie back on track. You know, that's actually pretty good. But I think Disney's trying to, like, or Marvel in general is just trying to, like, transition out of the movie TV show type of thing. And it's like, hey, we could tell these stories inside of video games, which allow us a lot more time to be able to flesh these stories out, you know, within a video game versus actual television. You're not restricted to just, like, 50-minute episodes or like 2.5 hour movies. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can do hundreds of hours of storytelling within a video game. So, you know, glad to see Arkane back doing single player games again. Like, please don't touch multiplayer ever again. Like, if you're just gonna do just do 2-player co-op, you know, story mode. That's about it. Like, I don't like that Redfall thing. And granted, that was a different Arkane studio, but, you know, it's just, it doesn't work, man. Like, Arkane is known for single player games. Let them flex their muscles at doing that, you know, and get that done. That's where they succeed at. But moving on, got some more information. There's another one, Jurassic Park Survival. This was one that I was like thrown off. I was like, man, I want this because I'm so tired of seeing Jurassic Park like games from Frontier, you know, where you're just building up a settlement or whatever and raising dinosaurs and all this other shit. I'm just like, I kind of want to, like certain games need to be horror based. Like, that's how I felt about the new Godzilla -1 movie. I was just like, Godzilla doesn't need to be like, Godzilla needs to be a horror movie, not like an action type of movie where it's, I mean, it can be action and stuff like that, and it can work, but people need to be terrified of the shit that's like destroying their entire city. You know what I'm saying? Like, people don't need to be like, oh, Godzilla's our friend, we need to help him fight so-and-so. Like, no, like, all of this shit is terrifying. You need to be running and hiding, and people are dying and getting eaten and shit, like, or dying from buildings and falling. Like, this is a horror movie. Like, you know, and that's kind of how I'm like, man, you know what? Like, Jurassic Park would be such a great survival horror game. And so I'm hoping that this is exactly what they're describing it as. But they go on to say that Jurassic Park Survival stars a new character, engine scientist Dr. Maya Joshi, I think that's how you pronounce it, who worked at John Hammond's original park. The game takes place in the day after the events of 1993 Jurassic Park movie, and so includes a lot of its locations and iconic dinosaurs. So it's like, if it takes the day after all of that stuff, it's like there are people that got left behind that were working there that they just like forgot about. You know, which would be interesting. It's like an interesting, like, little side story. But it goes on to say that those dinosaurs are said to be reactive to your actions, and you'll need to use distractions and stealth to avoid them. And here's the comparison that they kind of make, where they say it sounds a lot like Creative Assembly's Alien Isolation, in which players always had to avoid rather than fight the monsters, more from Ridley Scott's 1979 film. And like, yeah, there's no way you're gonna be able to fight this. Even in the movie, they couldn't really fight it for real. They couldn't really fight a T-Rex, nothing like that. You had to run the entire time in the movie. They got flares and stuff, so you can use like distractions, which is great. So it's like playing really into the 90s game. I would definitely like to see like a co-op of this too. Like, I know the Alien Isolation game was more so just like a single player game, which fit the setting of that, because it was more so like, you were on a confined ship and you were only subject to a specific area. This particular is an entire like park, so you can make a whole map out of this. And it's like, okay, like, co-op, you have to just figure out a way to get out of here. And stuff like that. And I would definitely like to see a little bit of co-op in this. If it's single player, that's perfectly fine as well too. That kind of adds more to the immersion and the horror. But yeah, I'm kind of hoping that this possibly could be just like a co-op though. That'd be pretty nice. But yeah, man, I think this is going to be actually dope though. Jurassic Park Survival. Let me know if you're excited for this, man. I know I was excited for this too when I first saw this. Plus Jurassic Park it's my childhood. That's what I grew up with. I'm a 90s baby. But moving on though. Here's some more extra news, man. If especially if you're like early 2000s or 80s or 90s kids. So Sega is resurrecting its classic, including Jet Set Radio, Crazy Taxi, and Golden Axe. I grew up with Jet Set Radio and Crazy Taxi. Those are the two games that I grew up with from Sega that I was like, oh yeah, like this is it. But they go on to say that, and I also read a little bit of this as well too. But they go on to say that, so 4 of the new titles appear from the tiny glimpses in Sega's trailer to be high budget 3D affairs. So the ones that it seem like they're going to pour a lot of resources into will be Crazy Taxi, Jet Set Radio, and they're going to say the revivals seem to be glossy HD takes on the games they're based on, while the Golden Axe reboot in particular is unrecognizable from the 2D scroller it's based on, which I'm not too familiar with Golden Axe. Streets of Rage I am familiar with though, also appears to be going on all 3D. I played Streets of Rage 4, which, Streets of Rage 4 is an amazing game. I love Streets of Rage 4. Only Shinobi looks somewhat familiar using a 2D style close to Dotemu's Windjammers 2 and Streets of Rage 4. Shinobi also looked pretty good. I'm not familiar with Shinobi either, but I thought that this was like a really like dope announcement, given the fact that it also kind of solidifies my thought process behind remakes as well. Because they're doing like full-fledged remakes of these games. These aren't like HD remasters or anything like that. And I think this is actually going to help Sega in the gaming world, because I'm like, Sega's kind of been trailing behind a lot of other people, man, when it comes to like games being released and developed and stuff like that. And I'm like, this is their way of like being like, okay, like, yo, like, we have a lot of classic games and we're going to bring this to like a new age and stuff like that. So I'm just like, when Jet Set Radio and Crazy Taxi both come out, I'm definitely buying that. You can kind of get into it now, but there's another game called Cyberfunk something jam or something. I can't remember the actual name of it. My memory is terrible, but that game is very close to Jet Set Radio. So if you want to get into kind of Jet Set Radio without actually playing, you want to play something updated and new without actually playing the original, which I highly don't recommend. I recommend just playing the original, but you can play that game, and that game is actually very similar to Jet Set Radio. But yeah, man, this is exciting news though. Like I'm down for it. I'm down for some remakes. Remake them all. Remake all of them. Bring them to a new way. I even say remake all of them. Put them in a collection. I'll buy it for like $200. If they're full-fledged remakes and stuff, I'll buy it for like $200-300, and you just put it all in a collection for me. But yeah, man, I thought this was exciting news, man. But moving on though. We got some more information. Here is another game that I was also excited for, and it's Rise of the Ronin, which is coming to PS5 March 22nd, which is PS5 exclusive. This game looked amazing. It looked like Yakuza and Ghost of Tsushima. like had a baby. That's what it looks like. So if you're not familiar with this game, that can kind of give you a little idea of what it is. But they go on to say that we're pleased to introduce our brand new gameplay trailer of Rise of the Ronin and to confirm that the game will be releasing March 22nd, 2024, with pre-orders available from December 14th, 2023. And they also give more pre-order information, but I'll go over just a little synopsis of what the game is and what they kind of showed off if you guys might have missed it. But they go on to say that it was a time when innovators like Ryoma Sakamoto and Shoin Yoshida sought to modernize the country. The game's Ronin protagonists will find their destiny linked to these characters, some of whom you saw in the trailer in several different ways. Your choices will shape your character. Your choices will shape how your character aligns or clashes with the story characters and their factions. So there seems to be like lot more RPG elements in this versus like Ghost of Tsushima, which is very like narrative driven and open world. So they go on to say that you will explore the vast world of late Edo period Japan by horse and glider, Ghost of Tsushima, while battling foes using a wide range of weapons and equipment, melee weapons like swords and spears, as well as ranged weapons like firearms and thrown weapons. So that's kind of the major difference. I don't know if you remember the trailer before, but like dude like legit executed a guy with a revolver. So like that was actually pretty dope. They also going to say that also armed with a grappling rope and stealth tactics, you can expect the variety and freedom shown in our latest trailer. They're going to say that pre-orders will go live at 10 a.m. local time on December 14, 2023, which would be 10 a.m. Eastern and 7 a.m. Pacific in the U.S. Players who pre-order any version of Rise of the Ronin will receive an early unlock of Eiga Ninja's katana and armor set in an early unlock of 4 combat styles to help you forge your fate. And there's kind of like the pre-order bonuses that you get with this, the information. So they'll be selling $69.99 as well as the $80 one is listed in here as well. And this is all the deluxe edition information that you can get, as well as the pre-order information on here as well. So if you guys are interested in this game, definitely check it out, man. Rise of the Ronin looks interesting to me, and I always like these feudal Japan type of eras. Like I like Japan, like culture, Japanese culture in general, but like I like when games like this very heavily focus on that time period. Because I'm, having like samurai and, ninja and stuff like that. All that stuff is very interesting to me. But I really do like it though. And it's actually pretty dope. But yeah, let me know if you guys, like this game and enjoy it, man, in the comments. Let me know if you like-minded like me as well. But moving on. We got some more information. There's the, Payday Studio, Starbreeze is making a Dungeons and Dragons live service game. So, hey, we're going to make a live service game, even though the Payday 3 game, which we technically supposed to specialize in, attempted to try to make that always online and the servers were shit. So, hey, guess what we're going to do? We're going to make a game that's always online, which is a live service game. And, we're going to try our hand at something that's even more ambitious. So we're going to do something that's even more ambitious. That is a live service that's always online, and, this is going to, be the greatest thing in 2026. Jesus Christ. But they're going to say that Payday maker Starbreeze is developing a Dungeons and Dragons game codenamed Project Baxter that it has announced. The company said it will carry the signature Starbreeze game cornerstones of cooperative multiplayer, lifetime commitment through a games as a service model. Not like games as a service has been successful before, right? It's been, like games as a service has obviously failed multiple times, and only a handful of games have been able to successfully make that, be able to make that model successful. Crazy to me, but they, it's like the definition of insanity, which is kind of funny to me. But they're going to say they're produced with Unreal Engine 5 and featuring cross-play support. It's set to be published by Starbreeze in 2026 for all major platforms. And it's just like, here's the other last little bit that I'll read that I'm just like, I'm so glad they added this in here. Thank you, VGC. Because this makes the comparison a little bit more, prevalent. So going to say that the launch of Starbreeze's most recent game, Payday 3, failed to meet publisher and Embracer Group's expectations. Major server issues, which Starbreeze blamed on problems with external matchmaking software, marred the co-op game's late September release. While fans were also left frustrated by an extended wait for the title's first update, Starbreeze claimed last month that Payday 3 was finally up and running as things should be following the release of the game's first patch. So on top of it not meeting the sales expectations, as well as matchmaking issues with the matchmaking software, as well as you took a long time to drop the first update, to patch, to fix it. What kind of, example are you setting for Dungeons and Dragons? That's going to be a games as a service, a live service modeled game, which requires an internet connection all the time. So you got to make sure your servers are good. You can't have the same server issue you had with Payday 3, as well as it takes you a long time to put out updates. You know what I'm saying? And I'm just like, why even do this? Why even just do something on a smaller scale? If you want to go down the multiplayer route and stuff like that, do something on a smaller scale, that is always online. So that way you can, not dump a shit ton of resources into a game you're going to fuck up. You know what I'm saying? It's just like, oh man, I thought this was kind of ironic and funny too, because it's just like, this isn't the Payday developer who made GTFO. GTFO is a great game. GTFO, those developers who worked on Payday before, they actually are really good at what they do, and it's just like, they're also making another heist game that got announced at the Game Awards. And so it's just like, I don't have any confidence in Starbreeze with this particular title, but it is what it is. They're working on one, and if you guys are excited for it, then let me know. But moving on to our last little bit of information. So Suicide Squad, to remove active internet requirement after release. I figured I'd end on some good news at least. Yeah, man, they're like creating they're creating a live service game, and they're gonna make the story like always online. I'm just like, no. So this is the greatest move you can make for this game, because I got invited to the technical play test, and man, well, I say that shit. 30 minutes of gameplay got leaked, so you can go decipher that by yourself if you saw it. But if they didn't do this, I guarantee you people are going to be upset during launch. People are going to be pissed. I can't really go too much into it. People are going to be mad. And this is a great change of pace for them. Making a separate offline story mode is the best decision that they possibly could have made within this studio moving forward. So they're going to say that Rocksteady has announced that Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League will remove its online only requirement after launch, adding an offline story mode. So if you're in it for the story, I would just wait. Don't pre-order it. Don't buy it day one. Just wait until they add that update, then buy it so you can play the story mode. So they're going to say that launch players will still need an internet connection, but this will be changed through an update later. Rocksteady confirmed through the Discord server that it plans to launch the update in 2024 with more information coming soon. They're going to say that, you got to wait all the way to 2024, which, I think the game releases, I can't remember. I think the game releases early 2024 anyways too. Or no, I think it releases this month. Anyways though, that's a while to just be putting that patch out regardless. But they're going to say that therefore removing this limitation will enable players to take the game offline without any interruptions. In the past, Arkane Studios promised to consider a similar update for Redfall, highlighting the community's outrage over such implementations. I'm like, yeah, don't attack. Why would you make the mistake of attaching the story mode to a multiplayer mode? That's so stupid. That's ass backwards. Allow people to play and have an offline experience, and then if they want to jump into the multiplayer side of things, they have that option. That's what makes Call of Duty so successful. That's what makes Grand Theft Auto so successful, because they separate the two. They understand that there are two player bases for this particular game. People who invest a lot into the multiplayer, people who invest a lot into the single player, mods and all that other kind of stuff. If you do that, it will allow you to be able to experience two different types of players. which would, increase sales. And my thing is like, that's a better option for gamers. And that was like, if you want the story mode, you can delve into the story mode. But I just thought this was interesting information, man. I'm glad they made the change. I'm glad they actually went into this and actually thought about like, yo, we need to change this. We need to do something different. So I'm glad they ended up doing that. But that's it for today, guys, man. Let me know if you like the the content today, if you like the different topics and stuff like that. Day before is just a shit show. So let me know your thoughts on that. Let me know what favorite game, what game that, was your favorite at the Game Awards, man. I'm curious to actually know about that. See how different your list may be from mine. I want to see lists in the comments, for people who leave comments. But yeah, man, thank you for your time today. Like the video if you enjoyed the content, subscribe to the channel as well, and make sure you hit that notification bell, man. And I'll see you guys next week. Take it easy.